everyone, and welcome to the live stream. I hope that you're all doing good. I see that we're having some fun times memeing in chat. Of course, tonight, as usual, is going to be our weekly Vara After Dark discussion stream, and we have a lot of different things to talk about. There were a lot of topics to discuss tonight. I did attempt to narrow it down. So, tonight we are going to be talking about Shazam a little bit. Of course, I've already done some videos on Shazam, but Rachel Zegler, who of course was part of the film and who is the new Snow White actress, decided to come out and defend Shazam by saying that critics are being mean. This is like a running theme we've seen over the past couple of weeks. I've had to talk about quite a few actors saying, oh, critics are being too mean, but she's the newest to the list because she's saying that they're being senselessly mean towards Shazam. It's just cool to hate on fun nowadays, which honestly, listen, I understand that you're going to be proud of a movie or a TV show that you're a part of, and you're allowed to like it and support it because you were a part of it, but it's critics' jobs to criticize things, and when actors like Rachel Zegler and also people like Seth Rogen come out and whine about how critics are too mean, it honestly just makes me dislike them even more because I don't want to listen to someone whine, oh no, the critics are being mean, I don't like it. Oh well, people are going to have different opinions on work that you're part of. We're going to be talking about the Dungeons and Dragons movie because that does come out next week, but the box office estimates are even worse than Shazam, which I can't really say I'm that surprised about. I didn't expect the Dungeons and Dragons movie to do amazing. I felt like leading up to the release, there was obviously a lot of backlash surrounding it. I mean, months ago we had all of the Wizards of the Coast, OGL drama. We have had just like drama surrounding the plot in general and some of the leaked images that we've seen that people haven't been particularly happy about. And hearing that it's tracking lower than Shazam, again, I'm not really that surprised. I mean, if you asked me, do you think D&D or Shazam is going to do better, I'm going to lean towards Shazam, even though that didn't do great at the box office. We're going to be talking about Resident Evil, and there's two articles that I wanted to reference. They are different. The first one is the Resident Evil 4 remake, changing Ashley's skirt gives me hope. I've had to talk about a couple of articles like this over the past 2 to 3 weeks where journalists have been defending the censorship and defending the changes that they're making to this game. And while I still will be live streaming it, and I am still relatively excited for it, I am disappointed with some of the decisions that have been made. And to top that off, we are also going to be talking about Resident Evil 5. Now, they have not confirmed that they are doing like a Resident Evil 5 remake or anything. One would assume because they have remade all of them leading up to this point that they would continue and probably remake 5. But now journalists are angry, saying that Resident Evil 5 is too racist for a remake. Boy, oh boy, it's like you can never win with these people. Yeah, this is a new The Gamer article, which honestly I think is hilarious. I might do an independent or individual video on this, but they're saying Capcom will need to approach this one very differently. Love The Gamer. We're also going to be talking about Halle Bailey. Of course, it is in the title and in the thumbnail. So Halle Bailey decided yesterday in a new interview that released to talk more about the entertainment industry, her thoughts on some of her upcoming projects, and she specifically made a statement about The Little Mermaid, talking about how her version of Ariel is going to be different and how her version of Ariel is going to be more nuanced than the original Little Mermaid, and it's kind of sparked this big debate of the original Disney film versus this live action. There are people who are very excited for this remake to release, and if you're excited, that's awesome. I personally am not really all that excited for it, but it's, caused this hot debate on social media, and now she's decided to come out and basically talk about her version and what she is doing differently. And it's something that we recently saw with the directors of the Super Mario movie as well. I mentioned this in a video yesterday, but these people continuously mention their versions, their, new characters or their new plots. Nobody wants to see their take. People just want to see the take. People just want to see the remake of the in this case 1989 film. People don't care about what you think is best. People want to see a basically one-for-one remake in most cases. So we're going to be mentioning that, and we are also going to be talking about Lord of the Rings. Now, of course, last year we saw Embracer acquire, I should say, Middle-earth Enterprises, and we were all curious what they were going to do. And lately I have had to talk about the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth set, because at least Wizards of the Coast decided that they were going to take this in a modern direction, and they decided to race swap several characters. Eowyn, Aragorn, Faramir, all different than their original counterparts in the way that Tolkien wrote them, and that, of course, has infuriated quite a lot of people. But now we have a little bit more to this story, because Middle-earth Enterprises in the last few months has trademarked the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, which is the name, of course, that they are putting on the Magic the Gathering set. It's Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, and they are talking about how they are going to be expanding on this, and they have trademarked the franchise for movies featuring fantasy stories and fantasy characters delivered by viewing on a big screen, and they are going to be in the same continuity and related to the Magic the Gathering cards, meaning all of these different versions of these characters will be in movies in the future. At least that is their plan currently. So yeah, a lot to talk about there, but I do have some other small side topics that we might get a chance to discuss, like Jenna Ortega, also Captain Marvel. But before we get into any of the topics, hello everyone. I hope that your evening is going good. Welcome to the live stream, and we will get into some of these not so fun topics in a minute. I have to say, hearing about all of these characters and franchises being taken and modernized, I'm not really down for it. I'm not a fan, and I've seen so much more backlash to these specific cases, like with Resident Evil. There's so many more people that are upset, which is good, because hopefully companies will look at it and go, wow, people really are mad. Maybe we shouldn't modernize our products. But at the same time, there are companies that view it as any press is good press, even if it's bad. So yeah, fun times. Hello, everyone. People don't like the Disney remakes. Some of them have been liked. I'd say most of them have generally positive audience feedback. Critics have been a bit more critical of them, but like the Cinderella one, people really liked. Beauty and the Beast was, I feel, really well taken just because it had like Emma Watson in it and Dan Stevens, and people love those actors. But like, look at the Lion King. They tried at first to market it as like a live action, even though it was 95% CGI, and then they went into the whole reimagining scheme with it, and that didn't go over very well. It's got pretty good reviews and ratings, but the more of these remakes that they release and the more changes they make, the more backlash that they're facing, which I definitely agree with. I'm not happy with the directions that they're going in, changing character stories and changing the way that they act and their motivations. It's just not good in my opinion. Another Captain Marvel cancellation. Yes, comic book Captain Marvel is being canceled again for like the 20th time. Victoria Alonso, I talked about it in a video. We're not going to really be talking about it in stream tonight just because I did make a standalone video on it. How do you do, Vara? Doing good. I rate people based on how red their hair is. Interesting. Alonso believes in representation so much, she now represents the unemployed. Well, she's probably made so much money that she could just retire. I doubt that we'll ever hear about her again, except for maybe like some occasional events where they need more activists and she happens to be someone they have on speed dial. I've noticed some of the articles that have been released about her stepping down. She stepped down, all right. Have called her an activist, just straight up labeled her that, which I think is funny because that was kind of the problem with her, is that she wasn't an entertainer. She doesn't know how to write or direct or, you know, plan a franchise to keep people entertained. She is worried about activism, which is an issue. But yeah, fun times. I'd imagine the Victoria replacement would also be woke, if not woker, unfortunately. I mean, only time will tell. We don't really know who is going to replace her right now. I'm sure that they will announce it relatively soon because that's not something that they want to have people speculate about, even though when they announce it, people will probably be upset if it's a woke replacement, but we'll see. She also hasn't made a statement yet on her retirement. So I'm sure that we'll get something from her, like, oh, it was just such a blessing to work with this company for so long. I'm making sure to leave my position to someone who is passionate about the industry. I mean, if you gave me 10 minutes, I could sit here and I could get pretty damn close to what her PR team's gonna write. Will Kathleen Kennedy be next? Probably not, but there's a possibility. We've heard the rumors that they want to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy after Indiana Jones. I personally think it's going to be a little bit longer than that, but I mean, anything goes, right? I don't like Kathleen Kennedy. I am not a fan of what she has done to our beloved franchises, and honestly, I can't say that I'd miss her. So if they want to send her packing, I am A-okay with that. Sexism. I'm worried about sexism in gaming. There's a lot of that apparently, or so I've heard. Or so I've heard. Ay. Kathleen Kennedy won't be gone until after Indy 5. Yeah, that's what we've been hearing, which is definitely believable, in my opinion. But alright guys, let's get in to the first topic at hand. Now, I've had to talk about Rachel Zegler a couple of times on the channel, not because she has done anything so amazing that we've been praising her over her statements or her actions, and not even because of Shazam, but I've had to talk about her because of the Snow White remake. We don't know what it's going to be called besides Snow White. I mean, they're getting rid of the 7 dwarves because they're too offensive. But Rachel Zegler, of course, is playing Snow White in the upcoming Disney live action, but she was also in Shazam, and now she has come out defending this movie, calling critics meanies. Listen, I understand that when you are a part of something, you might feel passionate about it, excited for it, you might love it, but nobody else is required to like it, and by doing this, you just sound kind of whiny. So, it says whether out of duty to the hand that fed her or a sense of genuine accomplishment, actress and self-admitted ist Rachel Zegler has pushed back against the widely negative reception towards her latest cinematic outing, Shazam: Fury of the Gods, by declaring that not only are critics being senselessly mean in their reviews, but that they hold their respective opinions because it's just cool to, hate on fun nowadays. So, basically everybody hates critics now. Even actors are turning against journalists, critics, which is funny because, 2 weeks ago I had to talk about Seth Rogen. He was talking about how, critics just don't get it. Critics hurt people's feelings. It really fucks with people when you negatively review their content. What do they expect critics to do? This is their job. Their job is to criticize content. It's just as simple as that. Now, guys, let me just put that out here. Let's not make any rude comments about her. We're already called bad things for criticizing the fact that she has been cast as Snow White. Let's keep it civil in chat, okay? It says after 4 years, 6 total release date changes, and the announcement that its events were essentially non-canon to the larger DCU thanks to Gunn and Safran, the sequel to the beloved first outing has finally bolted to theaters, and unfortunately for the film, it looks like the Marvel family's best days may already be behind them. I mean, there were major problems with Shazam. I have talked about how it did terribly at the box office so far, but yeah, my number one thing was that James Gunn, weeks before release, came out and confirmed that it's basically non-canon. That they have no more plans for Shazam, and how if this movie didn't do good, they weren't ever going to basically touch Shazam again. Hearing weeks before a movie releases that it's basically non-canon to the larger DCU really turned a lot of people off from this film, which I completely understand why. But it says, as per review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, the first Shazam ultimately went home with a 90% fresh rating from roughly 420 professional critics, with Fury of the Gods conversely having thus far pulled a significantly lower 52% rotten rating across 182 verified ratings. Likewise, according to the sister review Metacritic, whereas the first Shazam ended its run with a collective score of 71 out of 100 from 53 critics, its sequel presently holds a much lower 47 out of 100 with 46 critics. Now, I personally like the first Shazam movie more. I just felt like it was a better viewing experience. I liked the characters more. I liked the pacing more. Shazam: Fury of the Gods was okay, but it was nothing spectacular. And, well, audiences tend to like this movie. I don't know if these are the full numbers now, because this is verified. I don't know what the independents are without the verified, but it says, plus not only are the graded scores themselves particularly low, but the actual commentary given by the dissatisfied critics only further suggests that lightning failed to strike twice for the world's mightiest mortal. My personal review score for this film would be in the middle. It's not a 52%, but it's not an 88%. I'd give it like a 6.5. It wasn't awful. It wasn't great. It was just kind of meh. But, whereas the first Shazam felt like a refreshing throwback to the kids' adventures of the 80s and the superhero movies of the early 2000s, Fury of the Gods feels like a creaky leftover of the mid-2010s, wrote a reviewer for Inverse. Everything looks a little more washed out, Levy's jokey delivery is tired, and we've all had enough of MacGuffins. The magic is slowly being lost. I honestly don't know what direction they're trying to even take this universe in at this point. I feel like they don't know themselves, but it says, when we scroll down, the less favorable responses to her latest film eventually catching her attention, Zegler took to her personal Twitter account on March 18th to offer audiences a counter to the critics' claims. she had decided to tweet out, hey, our film is actually really good, but mostly I just absolutely loved making it. And the people I met whilst doing so, go and see it, give it a chance. We have an 85% audience score for a reason. So, of course, she is trying to defend this movie, which I do understand. When you're part of something, you want to praise it, and it's probably part of her contract too that she has to like publicly defend it if they tell her to. But people were not really happy with this response. It says some people out there just being senselessly mean, and it's unnecessary. And I know if you can't handle the heat and all that nonsense, and you're right, but our film is actually very good. It's just cool to hate on fun nowadays. That's okay, we are good. These actors and actresses, for years, the only people they have had defending them are the media, are the critics. The critics would praise anything that Marvel put out, anything basically that DC would put out. They simp so much for these giant companies and also these giant actors. But now the tides are changing, and people like Rachel Zegler cannot accept that. So what are they doing? They're now attacking the critics, saying that they're being senselessly mean, and the movie is just actually good. And you know, it's not that cool to just hate on fun nowadays. I don't know, Rachel, maybe people just simply didn't find this movie all that entertaining. Maybe it really wasn't that fun for these critics to watch. And you guys know, okay, I usually do not side with the critics, and I'm not even really siding with the critics here. All I am saying is it is hilarious that she is now melting down over the fact that critics are not just blindly rating their movies 10 out of 10s. I don't trust critics. I do not like critics. I usually judge movies by audience scores and also my own personal takes and opinions. But it is funny to see these people, you know, taking to their social media. And they're basically throwing hissy fits because the critics didn't just give their movies good reviews. Boo-hoo. It's like what Seth Rogen said a couple weeks ago. You know, when critics are just mean and he's taking too much heat on social media, he just goes to a really expensive steakhouse and goes to his beach house. Well, that's nice and all, right? But not everybody can do that, okay? I wish I could just go to my beach house when somebody says something mean about me on the internet. This is too freaking hilarious. Can't say I'm surprised though. Rachel Zegler is clearly someone who cannot take a lot of criticism. Of course, when she was criticized over getting the role of Snow White in the upcoming remake, I don't know if it's supposed to come out at the end of 2023 or early 2024. It's one of those two. But when she was cast as Snow White, people heavily criticized her casting. She couldn't take that heat, and she got really, really upset and had meltdowns on social media. And now that critics do not like Shazam, she is doing the same exact thing. So, yeah, fun times for Rachel. She's in for a rough next few years. But, yeah. That's all that I really had to discuss about her. I still haven't seen her in anything where I've gone, wow, she's a really good actress. I didn't think that she did a great job in Shazam. I have never seen her in something where I've gone, wow, she's got talent and skill. Maybe one day it'll happen. We'll see. She'll do it again when Snow White comes out. Oh yeah, absolutely. But that's because that's just the way that Disney acts now. Disney uses these actors and actresses as shields. This is Vara trying to get in good with the video game journalists. Yep, that's me. I want to be a journalist, so I gotta get in good with them. Oh, my mistake. She's a game journal. Yep, that's me, guys. What was that dumb chick's name from the Netflix Cowboy Bebop? Daniela Pineda. We haven't heard from her in a hot minute. Last time we heard from her was when she claimed that she really wanted to do a Faye spinoff, which I thought was fucking hilarious because the main series didn't even get finished. They canceled the main series. Why would you get your own spin-off if they didn't even finish it? The primary story. Like, what? Why would you ever even ask for that? Fun times. So tired of all the whining from Hollywood. Yeah, unfortunately, it is a running theme with the actors, producers, directors, basically anyone affiliated with Hollywood. But guys, now we get to move into something that is also has to do with Shazam, because of course we were just talking about Shazam. The Dungeons and Dragons box office estimates are now worse than Shazam: Fury of the Gods, which I think is funny. We knew that Shazam was not going to hit their initial expectations. We knew that Shazam wasn't going to make the company a boatload of money. We've known that from the beginning. I mean, even the director admitted defeat after only 24 hours of the movie being out. But if you asked me which movie I thought would do better, yeah, I think that Shazam would do better than Dungeons and Dragons. And it looks like, well, that is going to be correct. This is a Cosmic Book News article. Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves opens next week with its box office predicted to massively flop, even worse than Shazam, a similar goofy type comedic movie also featuring dragons. Fury of the Gods opened last week to only $30.1 million, and the latest forecast for Honor Among Thieves has the flick opening in the $21 to $30 million range, which is god-awful. Because if you look at the budget, it cost around $151 million to make, so those numbers aren't good by any means, which is actually more than the $100 million budget for Shazam: Fury of the Gods. This is hilarious. First of all, why would they ever spend $150 million on a Dungeons and Dragons movie? I do like Dungeons and Dragons. New D&D is very questionable. But when you ask me what I think a max budget for a movie like this would be, I would say like 100 absolute tops. 151 is a lot of cash. And well, they put it into this movie thinking it would be a really hot film, and it doesn't seem like it's gonna be. They also didn't predict a lot of the backlash that this movie was going to face, primarily because of a few months ago, all of the OGL drama and all of the people who were very upset with Wizards of the Coast, and also saying that they were going to boycott this film. While I do not think people are as upset over the OGL controversy now than they were previously, just because Wizards of the Coast has basically backtracked on everything they said about the OGL plans, I do still think that there are going to be people who are going to boycott this film, and people who are not going to see this because they're still pissed off at WotC, which I completely understand. Also, I feel like the promotional material for this movie has been pretty fucking poor. I obviously watch, a lot of YouTube, and I'm looking at a lot of entertainment sites and social media a lot, and I really haven't seen a lot of talk about this film, right? Like, I've seen some YouTube advertisements here and there, but it's definitely not as much as you would expect for a movie that has a $150 million budget, because a good chunk of that you would think would go to promotional material, but I haven't really seen that. I even saw like this mega thread on Twitter the other day of people going, oh, this movie is coming out in the next couple of weeks, because people were shocked, and these were individuals who were saying like, I look at entertainment news all the time and I have seen basically nothing about this. Also, another big thing is that they haven't sent any of these actors into interviews. By now, since we're only about a week and a half away from release, there should be tons of interviews with the cast releasing. Maybe they'll start that soon, and it's just only a week away from launch. But their promotional material has really been poor with this movie, and it's kind of shocking because they have a lot of big names here. They have an actor from Bridgerton, of course they have Chris Pine. They also have another actress, I can't remember her name, but she was in the It remake. So they have a fairly well-known cast, but they haven't like utilized those people at all. It says estimates come from Box Office Pro, who revised their numbers from higher estimates just a couple of weeks ago, as tracking had it opening between 23 and 30, but now the potential numbers are a bit lower on the worst case scenario side of things. The flick is also facing tough competition with the Super Mario Bros. Movie that opens only 5 days later on Wednesday, April 5th, so families might be saving their spare change to see Mario in action and might not want to spring for two family-friendly flicks in less than a week. There are a lot of movies coming out. This week we have John Wick, I believe. Next weekend we have, of course, this. And then right after that, we have the Super Mario movie. If I was going to the theaters to see one movie and it was between Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves versus the Super Mario Brothers film, it would be Super Mario Brothers for me, because again, the Dungeons and Dragons movie, from what I have seen, I personally do not think that it looks awful. I just didn't really click with any of the trailers. Like, all of the jokes in the teasers fell very flat for me, and I wasn't sitting there like, oh, I'm actually pretty excited for this. I will ultimately see both. Wink, wink, hint, hint. But if I, had to make a choice between seeing one or another, I would definitely be more interested in seeing the Super Mario Brothers film. I hope that Dungeons and Dragons is better than I expect. Right now, I'm sitting at like a 5. I'm expecting this movie to be right in the middle. It's not going to be terrible, but it is not going to be great. I would love to be surprised. I would love for it to be like a 7 or an 8 and really shock me. Again, it's got a very good cast. I'm sitting here and I'm not seeing a lot of excitement for it. Projections are lowering drastically now, and I haven't seen a lot of hype for it. So ultimately, only time will tell. It does release next week, but yeah, the box office estimates are looking even worse than Shazam. They're looking pretty rough right now. So, yeah, we'll move on in just a minute. We'll be talking about some Resident Evil. Yeah, wink, wink. It's gonna be too cringe. It's a comedy. I understand some jokes in a movie are not gonna fly. Like, I don't expect to sit down and watch a movie and every single joke hit, but it's gotta be like a 70-30, and judging by the trailer, I bet that they put some of their best jokes in the trailer and like none of them hit for me. Yeah, Michelle Rodriguez is also in the D&D movie, so they have a lot of well-known actors in this. I also think it's funny because the actor from Bridgerton, he left the Bridgerton franchise because he got offered more money for this movie, and it's like he thought that this movie was going to be like a giant film series. Like, if this was the beginning of something new. Oof. You didn't make the right choice there. Hope you're doing alright, Mer. Doing good. I don't even think they're trying on D&D. I just think that the Dungeons and Dragons that exists now is not the Dungeons and Dragons for me. I'm not a fan of what they're doing with Dungeons and Dragons, and of course I've had to talk a lot about Wizards of the Coast over the few years with all of the changes that they're making and, their modern updates and removing terms that are seen as too offensive and rewriting characters, and I'm just not a fan of that. And while I will give this movie a chance, I also have very little excitement for it at this point. he needs to fire his agent, he really, really does. I mean, he left... I think it was because in Bridgerton, like, his character's arc was primarily over, so he would only be, like, a cameo in the next few seasons, but still, like, he apparently was, from what I remember reading, like, a year and a half ago, like, they were trying to offer him a boatload of money to stay, because Bridgerton blew up, because he was one of the main characters, and he was like, no, I'm not, nope, I'm out. It's like, well, I'm glad you got paid for this movie, but this is not gonna go where you think it is. Then again, I never really looked at this D&D movie and was like, wow, they're gonna start a whole new series and it's gonna go really good. I didn't see the vision here. I think for me, it's because Chris Pine doesn't fit into the description of his character. I just don't see it. I feel like everybody is not in the role that they should be in. Anything with Nicolas Cage is good. Why are we talking about Nicolas Cage? I love Nick Cage. Oh, the vampire movie. Yeah, Renfield. That looks good. I have to say, every movie that Nicolas Cage is in, even if I don't think I'm gonna like it, I like it. Nicolas Cage is just one of those actors who just never lets me down. If I think a movie's gonna be shit while he's in it, it's not gonna be shit. I'm gonna go see it. He gets my money every single time. He's just good. He's a good actor. So alright guys, now we get to talk about Resident Evil 4. Yay! Tonight the running theme is modernity, you know? Shazam. I wouldn't really say that they lean towards modern audiences, but they leaned kind of towards a family-friendly, which, you know, we can consider modern. Dungeons and Dragons, of course. WotC's updated it for modern audiences. Resident Evil, modern audiences. Little Mermaid, modern audiences. Lord of the Rings, modern audiences. That should just, I should just erase the title and go modern audiences. Because that's what this stream is really about. So guys, over the past couple of weeks, I have been talking a lot about Resident Evil 4. And let me say this right up front, okay? I am going to be live streaming the game this Friday on launch day. I love the Resident Evil franchise. It is one of my favorite game franchises of all time, and I am still excited for this game. But unfortunately, I have a lot of worries with this game. I am very concerned with all of the changes that they're making, and one thing I have seen are great, basically shining reviews for this title releasing so far. Critics are giving this game like 8 out of 10s, 9 out of 10s, which is great. And even though I do not trust game journalists, it is still good to see something get really high scores, but they are leaving out very crucial details for reasons like this. Unfortunately, the gaming journalists who are absolutely loving this are leaving out information about things like the censorship, the changes that they're making in this. I have had to talk about all the changes they've made with the costumes, the way that characters act, but more articles are releasing like this. The Resident Evil 4 remake changing Ashley's skirt gives me hope. Classic Kotaku article. I'm anxiously awaiting Capcom's so far highly praised Resident Evil 4 remake. Uh-oh, why is my screen flashing? But not because I'm preoccupied by updated fight mechanics or graphical fidelity or any monsters. Really, I've been thinking about skirts. Yeah, is this Kotaku? Kotaku? Do I have to refresh the article? Is that why the screen is blinking? It's not often, but it's annoying. Uh-oh, here come the jokes, Vara. Your eyesight. What's going on? Why are you seeing blinking? It says, skirts caused one of the remake's early controversies. Ashley Graham, the blonde damsel in distress who accompanies blonde man of action Leon Kennedy throughout most of Resident Evil 4, wears a green tartan miniskirt. In the remake, she seems to be wearing a similar looking skirt with gray tights instead, thereby eliminating the original's upskirting opportunities for good. There are multiple problems with the fact that this game is facing censorship. There's multiple reasons why people are criticizing this. First of all, it's not just the fact that a skirt has been changed, right? It's deeper than that. Why are they changing the skirt? Well, they're changing the skirt because they don't want players looking up her skirt. Why do they not want that? Because they see it as inappropriate and offensive. Unfortunately, it is much deeper than, oh, they're just changing her skirt. And I've had to talk about this many times. And it's not just her skirt that they are changing. They also added tights. They changed it to, like, this skirt. And journalists are trying to defend this, saying, well, it's really not that big of a deal. Which is something I definitely do not agree with. Any changes should be seen as controversial. I mean, we should be scrutinizing changes made to games. In versions of Resident Evil 4, there were achievements for looking up her skirt. She would slap you away and call you a pervert, and that was part of the experience that the developers made. So yes, it should be in this title. It says, of course, classic Kotaku, sexually frustrated fans of the series were disappointed, seeming to not understand that there are already plenty of websites that will show them exactly what they're looking for. But I was relieved. I want the Resident Evil 4 remake's changes to signal better days for video game skirts and more broadly female character design, letting them both migrate more towards the expressive, gender-fluid fashion real-world women's wear has been making since 2020. Okay, first of all, this video game is not set in 2020. So why would this show trends going on in 2020? Second of all, it is perfectly okay for you to want to see expressive gender-fluid fashion, but it doesn't fit into this video game, and this was not the original intention of the developers when they created this game. So why is it okay if if the new developers are making changes? It shouldn't be. This is a problem that I have had with the Resident Evil 4 remake, is that journalists like this are giving the game, you know, stunning reviews, saying, you know, we're giving it 9 out of 10s, 8 out of 10s, it's fantastic, and they are criticizing some elements, but they're not talking about changes like this. It's not just because sexually frustrated fans are disappointed, it's because fans of the original content, fans who respect the original developers and the art team's visions, are upset. I've also seen some of the journalist / critic reviews so far talk about how this game isn't horror enough, and they think that some of the I saw another review talk about how the changes to the mechanics wasn't great in their opinion. The original game was more of an action game than a horror, and that's a complaint again that I've seen journalists have, but that wasn't the original title, so I have no problems hearing this. My main complaints here are how they have changed the characters and how they act in this version of the game, like how Ashley now follows Leon around constantly instead of staying back, which of course changes the gameplay and kind of the flow of it. I have a problem with how dialogue has been removed. Like, there's been flirtatious dialogue that isn't there anymore, and of course when you look up her skirt, she no longer shoos you away and calls you a perv. That's changed. You also have outfits being completely different or heavily altered. I do still have a lot of hope for the game though, and I don't want you guys to think that I'm completely hating on this. I am very excited for this title. You guys know I have streamed all of the Resident Evil remakes at launch. I've loved all of them. Even Resident Evil 3, that was kind of controversial because it was very short and it did make changes. I still enjoyed it. Like, the content that was there was still pretty freaking good. It could have been a couple of hours longer though. And I will be streaming this on Friday when it launches, and if we get time, I can always go back to the original and compare the games. And you know, I'm still pretty excited for this. I have a lot of love and I have a lot of nostalgia for Resident Evil, but it's articles like this that just piss me off because all they are doing is avoiding the problem. The problem isn't that sexually frustrated people want to look up her skirt. It's because you're changing the way that these characters interacted. You're changing, again, outfits and dialogue and even gameplay because you're changing how a character like Ashley even acts. I don't support a lot of the changes. I am going to judge the game for myself, but it is still disappointing to hear about all these things. This whole article is just the writer projecting her insecurities. I mean, classic Kotaku writer. Kotaku and The Gamer have been really fighting for the worst video game journalists lately, huh? I don't know what it is, but they have really been going back and forth. Honestly, The Gamer lately has been maybe even a little bit worse in my opinion, because they have had so many writers pushing basically the same articles, just slightly reworded. Like, I recently showed off in a video 3 Gamer articles that released in the same day from their 3 female journalists who were praising the censorship. Honestly, that's even a little bit worse than Kotaku is right now. I think that Kotaku is just not as good because they've only got like 3 fucking people writing for them. But, they're still a problem. Yeah, Mary Sue is bad, Polygon is bad, all of them are bad. I just feel like The Gamer's a little bit worse right now. Also, speaking about The Gamer, I wanted to show off this article a little bit. Oh boy, Resident Evil 5 is too racist for a remake. That's it, guys. Now, they've been remaking Resident Evil games. We've gotten all the way up to Resident Evil 4 that comes out this week. And it's safe to assume that they're going to remake 5, or they're at least going to consider remaking 5. I mean, it's making them boatloads of money. I mean, why would they stop now if it's going to make them money, right? I don't blame them for that. But if they remake Resident Evil 5, I foresee a hell of a lot of controversy because of this. Again, The Gamer article. Resident Evil 5 is too racist for a remake. Resident Evil loves a good remake. Capcom has been trading in reimaginings of its survival horror series since 2002, when the beloved original was brought back to life on the Nintendo GameCube. It's a stellar remake and the definitive version of a classic game. The same can be said for 2019's Resident Evil 2, which many now consider the best in the series since it exploded onto the scene 4 years ago. I loved the Resident Evil 2 remake. It was really fucking good. It says, though, 3 wasn't great, which I wholeheartedly agree with, but it's still... but I still had some fun with its new spin on things. Now it's Resident Evil 4's turn, a game so nice they remastered it thrice, and now the remake treatment is set to introduce this banger to a new generation. So what's next? Again, they have not even confirmed that they are going to be remaking this game. Honestly, it wouldn't even surprise me if they just stopped at 4 and they didn't remake this because they know what's going to happen if they do. But it says Resident Evil 5 is the next logical step, given it's a mostly iterative sequel with many of the same gameplay mechanics and set pieces. It also has mandatory co-op even if you're playing alone, removing what little horror was left by giving you characters with twice the firepower. 4 influenced Gears of War, and in turn Resident Evil 5 looked at Gears of War and decided it needed a slice of that gray, edgy, and bloated pie. It's not a bad game, but I'd struggle to describe it as anything more than a pale imitation. The game's legacy is also eternally tainted by its racism, intentional or not, it's there. I was still in primary school when Resident Evil 5 was first unveiled, so my understanding of racism and the historical role it plays in global socio-political culture was fairly lacking. I just wanted to murder zombies with my friends, and it didn't matter what color they were or what country I happened to be in. The infection must be cleansed, and not putting my upgraded shotgun to use would be a tragic waste. But even back then, there was something uneasy about how the game depicted Africa and the awkward marketing eager to focus on a white man waltzing into an impoverished town only to murder its inhabitants. It goes on to even say the reveal trailer that dropped in 2005 had deliberately vague descriptions of where it takes place or what the game is even about. Now, first of all, of course, it's important to point out that the white guy isn't a new character, it's Chris Redfield, so he is already an extremely well-known, established character in this franchise, and I love how this journalist just tries to say, oh, there's a white guy. First of all, it's Chris is the main character, so you already know who he is. It's not like it was this big statement and he was someone new, but they simply decided to have this game set in Africa. That's all they really did. Now, if you view that as racist, okay, but clearly they were not thinking about that. They simply wanted to have a different setting. Okay, any game that would do this now would face massive backlash. It doesn't matter if it's a remake of this or a new title. If you have a game set somewhere like Africa, you are going to face accusations of being racist simply because you are going to have to inevitably kill characters that happen to be black because they are in an area where the people are primarily darker skinned. Is that racist? No, it's just setting your character and your story in that area. And then imagine if they decided to have half of these or 3/4 of these NPCs be white. Well, then they would also be accused of being racist for not proper representation. So either way, in this situation, they are damned if they do and they are damned if they don't. They are going to be heavily criticized no matter what they do. It also says the E3 2007 showing wasn't nearly as lucky with its preview of the game's opening, which, without the presence of your partner Shiva, boils down to a hench white dude beating the shit out of hostile African natives. Oh yes, sorry! Sometimes you're going to have trailers for a game that don't explain the whole context of the situation. I'm curious if Capcom will have the balls to remake it. I do not think so. I think 4 is it. I think they knew they could get to 4 safely. That all the other ones would sell very well, that people would like them, that there was going to be minor controversy. Of course, they have caused more controversy by censoring things, but I do not think that we are going to see a Resident Evil 5 remake. I think they will release 4, go kind of silent on it, and then, well, that'll be it. I do not think that they are going to have the balls to do this. It says in 2009, Africa had some of the world's foremost universities situated in bustling urban metropolises, and yet Capcom decided to portray its people not as modern workers, but as savages in stereotypical tribal gear. It's a trope as inaccurate as it is insensitive. Africa is a sprawling continent, and Resident Evil 5 views it as a singular entity. Well, they just stated the problem with their argument there is that Africa is, yes, a sprawling continent. There are many different kinds of people that act differently in the continent. and happen to dress differently in the continent. Not everybody is going to be exactly the same. This person is simply just angry that they did not dress the NPCs in the way that they were expecting. They say that it's a generic and offensive interpretation of the continent. Perhaps this dodgy misstep would fly in 2009, but to remake it and fail to acknowledge how problematic it remains borders on complete ignorance. It says, I'm not saying a potential remake of it needs to abandon in Africa entirely, only that major revisions are required for it to stand the test of time. So, of course, they are sticking with, let's just censor the game. Oh, it's fine if you want to remake it. It's fine if you don't want to abandon Africa entirely, but you're gonna need to major revise it. It's always something different to complain about with people. It really, really is. Everything feels a bit hopeless, even as you venture underground and you're looking for, treasures, stereotypes reinforced with increased examples of vulgarity as the campaign tries to inject some manner of variety into its generic firefight. So not only are they saying that it's racist, but they're also just crapping on the game, saying that it's a generally bad title and they really don't like it and it's got a lot of problems. So I can't really say that I'm surprised, but I thought that this was a very interesting article. I might end up doing a full standalone video on this, but I think it's hilarious because they're trying their best to, of course, bank off of Resident Evil 4's popularity and upcoming release. And so they're going, what else can we talk about with Resident Evil? Well, Resident Evil 5 could be a remake, and, well, it's really, really racist. So Capcom, if you release it, you're gonna have to make some major revisions to it. Of course, it's just a way to, get outrage clicks because they know that people are going to be pissed off with their take and that people are going to be angry with them, but they're still going to do it. They're still trying to milk off of Resident Evil. But yeah, I thought that this was very, very interesting. The classic, you can't make these types of people happy because, well, it's nothing you do is good enough. The game is racist, and you could try to make it less racist in their eyes, but then you're also severely altering your title, which is going to upset a different group of people. I don't think that Capcom will remake Resident Evil 5. I think that they are way too soft for it. I think that they would be afraid of the backlash. I don't think we're actually going to get this, but maybe we will. If we do, it's going to be so different. They are going to change everything about this title. Thank you, Clint, for the $5 super chat. Journos, we need more minority representation. Also, Journos, where are all the white people at? Well, that's the thing, is that they want representation, which is a fine thing to ask for, but when there is representation and it is not just like the hero, then they're mad at it and they say that it is racist. It's like, yeah, you can ask for representation and that's fine. There should be representation. Representation is not a bad thing, but that doesn't always mean that the representation is going to equal the main character who happens to be the hero. Sometimes you are going to get representation and that character is going to have to die or go through hard times and trials and tribulations. It's like the Last of Us TV series. There were critics who were mad that there happened to be black characters who did not get their happy ever after, that did not live. Some of them died, some of them went through trauma, and they called Last of Us show racist because of that. It's like, cry harder. Nothing is ever going to be enough for you people. The Resident Evil IP has made a lot of people a lot of cheddar. That is very true. That is very true. I mean, look at me. I've purchased all of the remakes because I love Resident Evil. I think Resident Evil is fantastic. Unfortunately, yeah, I'm not very on board with the censorship. I do have problems with what I am hearing about some of the past remakes, the new remakes, but I still purchase them and I still rate them myself and judge them for myself. All we need is Forspoken 2, obviously, to fix all of this. definitely need Forspoken too. But, alright guys, we'll be moving on in just a second. We're gonna be talking about Halle Bailey. Halle Bailey? Is that how you say it? We are gonna be talking about The Little Mermaid. Definitely great. Definitely awesome. This actress can't seem to keep herself out of controversy. I understand that a part of it is probably Disney telling her to make a bunch of statements and go into interviews and, you know, get people excited about the film and just talk about it. But if she didn't go into interviews saying things like this, attacking the original Little Mermaid film, half the people that are upset at her would not care. Half the people that are criticizing her right now would not be criticizing her. But because she's making, in my opinion, dumb statements like this, it's just making her worse than she already looks. No, unfortunately not Halle Berry. Zombies don't do international travel well. I guess not. So guys, another dumb statement, another poor interview. When is it gonna end? Who knows? 13 million views right now. If you are excited for the live-action Little Mermaid remake, that is awesome. I am super fucking glad that you were excited for it. I wish I could be excited for this movie. I wish I could be excited about every movie. But unfortunately, that's just not the way that life works. And I have a lot of criticisms when it comes to this film. And the lead actress is not making it any easier for me to want to support this movie. Now, she has made several statements already about how if you criticize this movie, it's just a bad person, and she talked about how she's had to face a lot of racist trolls criticizing this movie and her performance as Ariel, and, well, she kind of went silent for a few weeks, probably because they were hoping that some of the backlash would die down. Well, her newest statement definitely sparked up controversy again. Halle Bailey says her version of Ariel is more nuanced than the original Little Mermaid. We've definitely changed that perspective of her just wanting to leave the ocean for a boy. It's way bigger than that. It's about herself, her purpose, her freedom, her life, and what she wants. Now, first of all, the way that she approaches this is just bad. She's acting like it's okay that they wanted to change Ariel's backstory and her personality, and it's okay because it's her version of Ariel, right? It's not supposed to be the original version. It's different this time around. But the problem with this statement is the fact that she is so wrong. She's saying that, you know, they made it so that the perspective of her just wanting to leave the ocean for a boy, that's not just the case. It's way bigger than that. It's about herself and her freedom. Ariel always had that about her. The song, Part of Your World, was sung before she even met Prince Eric, right? For years, she had been collecting little trinkets from the human world because she had the whole treasure trove. She had done that 4 years before she even met Prince Eric. Prince Eric was just the catalyst to her leaving the ocean. He was just the last final push that she needed to finally do it, to finally try to change her future. The movie didn't just exist because she wanted to leave the ocean for a boy. So not only is she completely wrong and didn't understand the original Disney version of this character, but she's also trying to twist it as, oh, well, it would be okay that we're changing this because it's my version of her. It just shows that she doesn't really understand or get this character. And I'm not talking about the, you know, the version of Ariel that Disney worked on, because of course the 1989 movie and the Ariel that we know now is very different from the original Ariel and the concept that they took it from. I'm just talking about Disney's version of the princess. But this statement that she made has caused massive waves, no pun intended. It's really pissed people off, and understandably. The Little Mermaid that Disney has marketed hundreds and thousands of times came out 34 years ago. People have love and nostalgia for this character, and to come out and say that we're trying actively to change the perspective isn't gonna sit well with people. As you can see, 13 million views in only a day, and people are, of course, very heated over this and arguing over this. That's why they made Prince Eric ugly in this one. I don't necessarily, I mean, he seems fine compared to the original animation. I don't know. I don't think that he's ugly. You know, but you know what? My standards are low. As long as he's not Timothée Chalamet, I'm good. People are like photoshopping images of her. People are also saying things like this. I'm sick of that narrative in the 1989 movie. Ariel is actually very interested in knowing the human world way before meeting Eric, and it's not a crime to fall in love with someone. This is the problem with current day Hollywood and the stories that we're getting, is that they do demonize things like falling in love. Oh, you can't just fall in love with someone. Oh, you want to change for the better to be with someone that you love? You can't do that. But yeah, as even this comment says, in the movie, Ariel is already interested in knowing about the human world. She has what's his name? Scarlet? Is that the bird's name? It starts with an S. He already multiple times has told Ariel, you shouldn't come back here. Your dad's gonna be mad if he finds out. She's got this treasure trove of items in Flounder and Sebastian. They're basically her babysitters because she's constantly doing something that would put herself in danger. But no, take all the credit and say, you know what, she just wanted to become a human for a boy. But that's not true, though. There are a lot of people here that are commenting about how they're very excited for this movie and best version incoming. And if you like this movie, that's awesome. I hope that you scuttle, that's it. I hope that you like this movie. I hope that you enjoy this film. I hope that you have a great fucking time with it. I personally am not impressed with what I have seen so far. And my main criticisms are, I will say, like I have noted a couple times now, the latest trailer did look a little bit better under the sea. Okay, Under the Sea looked a little prettier, it looked a bit more vibrant, but from the previous footage, it looked pretty dull and gloomy. I am not a fan of Melissa McCarthy. I don't think that she is a good actress. I don't think that she is going to be a good Ursula. I'm just not a big fan. I think that Halle Bailey has a pretty voice. I think that she will sing perfectly fine. I wish that they had made her hair more vibrant and they had actually tried to make her, make her hair look more vibrant and her seashell bra look more vibrant and like her tail and scales look prettier. I don't know, I just feel like they could have upped the colors here and really made it look like Way of Water. That's where my expectations lie at this point, because Way of Water was such a visually pretty movie, and it was, I mean, I don't think you're gonna get much better than that. And unfortunately with Little Mermaid, yeah, the coloring has been much better in the latest trailer, but we still have all that other footage that looked kind of mediocre. I just feel like this movie is not going to be good I am personally not going to enjoy it. I don't like the changes that they're making. I don't like how they're trying to take credit and say, look at us, we're making all these changes. I don't want a modern take on The Little Mermaid. I just want a one-to-one live action or something that's very close. I don't know why, but I don't buy Vara when she says, if you like it, that's awesome. Well, I don't like it, so I can't sound too excited over it, but if you like it, that's cool. Like, if there are haters who are coming in here to attack me, I'm not telling you to boycott this movie. I'm not telling you to reject this movie and to not see it. If you want to see it, that's cool, go for it. Spend your money, you're an adult. I don't have to tell you what to do. But don't hate on me for having my own opinion. But yeah, this has definitely caused quite a bit of controversy now, which I think is kind of funny, because Disney keeps sending this actress into interviews thinking that it's going to do better than the last. Like, this interview would not be rejected as much as the previous one, but with every interview comes more criticism, and it's not getting any more positive for her or Disney. Does this mean that I have been wrong my whole life? Because I thought that in the original, Ariel's desire to visit the surface was there before she even met Prince Eric. And it's true. She literally sang part of your world before she even met him. She just was interested in humans. If it wasn't Eric, it was gonna be someone else. That's just the way that it is. She just was interested in the human world. Yeah, Disney is not doing her any favors with the interviews. Also the same with the Tinkerbell actress. They had the Tinkerbell actress talk about the backlash that she's faced, and I definitely feel like her responses were much more elegant, because she didn't just call everyone racist trolls and try to outright attack people. But they're really putting these actresses to work. And unfortunately for Halle Bailey, these interviews are not doing her any favors. So yeah, that's all that I really had to talk about with that. Next, we are going to be talking about Lord of the Rings. Something that has also upset many people, myself included. And a bit of an update to this story, because I've talked a couple of times now about them race swapping Aragorn, Eowyn, and Faramir. But now we know that it's not just in the Magic the Gathering set, but they are going to be making what seems like movies with these new versions of these characters. Fun times. Quickly, guys, before we get into the next topic, I have to self-shill a little bit. If you're enjoying the live stream, make sure to give it a like. We need 6 more to hit 100. If you're not enjoying, feel free to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way. Check out the links in the description and the pinned comment. Become a member via YouTube memberships. You get a badge next to your name. You support the channel. Next week, I do believe, we will be doing the supporter stream. You get access to a special channel in the Discord server. Also, becoming a Patreon gets you the same perks. Donate via Streamlabs. All those donations pop up. $3 or more. Text-to-speech activates. So, fun times. Thanks for the self-shilling slot. Even though I technically made the slot for myself. Thanks for listening. Also, thank you for the 100 likes. Much appreciated. So, now we get to talk about Lord of the Rings, which, for me, is the most depressing topic out of all of these. So, I've had my beef with Wizards of the Coast, some of the decisions that Wizards of the Coast has made. And the new Magic the Gathering Universes Beyond set was a collaboration with the Lord of the Rings. And while I would typically be extremely excited for this because I love Lord of the Rings, I used to really love Magic the Gathering. After hearing about the modern take on Tolkien that they're focusing on, I really lost any interest I had in it. I have mentioned it in other videos. They specifically said that this was supposed to be a modern take on Tolkien's world and some of the characters. But now we know it goes even deeper than this initial situation. Now, I've showed this off several times. As you can see here, Faramir, Eowyn, they do look very, very different now. I have shown off Aragorn before as well. Race swaps. Very different than Tolkien's original concept for all of these characters, like the complete opposite direction than the way that he originally described them. But now, it seems like things are going to go much farther than this Magic set, because Middle-earth Enterprises in the last month have trademarked Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth franchise, which of course is the name that they have on the Magic the Gathering collaborative set, for movies featuring fantasy stories and fantasy characters delivered by viewing on the big screen to television and more. The evidence and trademark is shown below, and this Tales of Middle-earth is in the same continuity related to the Magic the Gathering cards. Another noticeable trademark under the Tales of Middle-earth is for multiplayer games and other forms of video games. Providing information online about electronic games and updates for such games, providing online multiplayer interactive games over the internet. This further shows that we previously reported that movie rights are non-exclusive to Warner Bros., and this has been trademarked solely by MEE/Embracer, but that doesn't mean that MEE can't still go to Warner Brothers, Amazon, or someone else to work with another party on this. So, yeah, it seems like these versions, these new Wizards of the Coast versions of these characters, may be seeing the light of day further than this MTG set, which definitely does not sound great. I mean, this whole set was clearly commissioned before Embracer purchased Middle-earth Enterprises, so whoever was in control of Middle-earth Enterprises then is still in control of it for some capacity now, because they have decided to continue with this idea. I mean, of course, all of the contracts were probably already signed before Embracer purchased Middle-earth Enterprises, and they decided to go ahead with this, but it sounds like they're going much farther than originally anticipated. I mean, you also have to consider that this is Embracer we're talking about, and look at the Saints Row reboot. Embracer owns their parent company, and that game still happens, so clearly they are down with the narrative. In this case, it's only one of two things, right? Either Middle-earth Enterprises which of course is Embracer, told Wizards of the Coast to do all of the race swaps, and of course Wizards of the Coast was happy with that, or WotC did them and Middle-earth Enterprises was like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, let them create and release those designs. So it's one of two things. It's either one company did it or told the other company to do it, which is just very unfortunate to hear, because this set will probably still sell very well. There's a lot of people who are excited about this. Also, there is a singular masterpiece edition of the One Ring, and they're only printing one in the entire world, so it's probably going to be like $1 million version of the card, and there's going to be a lot of people trying to chase it thinking, I'm going to get lucky. So they're probably going to sell a lot of this set, don't get me wrong. But yeah, it seems like they are very focused on these new versions of the characters. And, well, it seems like we are going to be seeing these characters in more movies. They did say that it could be a big screen or television, and as it goes on to say, they are also trademarking this for multiplayer games, so we don't know how. But clearly they have big plans for this Tales of Middle-earth, series that they want to do now. I am curious to see how you all feel about it, but I think that as more people hear about this, they're definitely gonna be upset about this. This only released today, a couple of hours ago this news was launched. This was launched by Fellowship of Fans, and they did provide like the documents showing that it is trademarked, but yeah, seems like they've got some big plans with these characters. For modern audiences only now. Well, that is kind of how Wizards of the Coast has viewed content. They are very focused on diversifying, inclusifying, and modernizing their content. Wizards of the Coast has made a lot of changes over the past few years for modern audiences. Whatever the hell happened to just putting boobs on a product? The good old days were so much simpler. They really were. They really were. We can't do that anymore, though, because that would be objectifying women. Even though they're fictional and on pieces of cardboard, and women are supposed to be allowed to wear whatever they want, whatever makes them feel empowered. But no, we can't show that on a piece of cardboard. We need to upkeep their family-friendly image. Fun times. I'll pass. I prefer the original characters. Yep, definitely agree there. Will Bilbo the Cat be race swapped for modern times? I don't know. I'll have to check in with him. See if he's got any plans to, to change his image, to rebrand. I'll have to ask him. I'll get back to you, though. I mean, some of the card art looks cool, right? Like the One Ring, this version looks okay. Like the Samwise card looks pretty good. It's just unfortunate knowing what they're doing and kind of what their intentions are here. Can't say I'm really that surprised. Oh yeah, there's Faramir and Eowyn. And of course, if you criticize these changes, you're just called a racist, which is ridiculous, because we should be able to just criticize art on cards, but can't do that. Uranist. I worry now for Time Splitters if Embracer owns Deep Silver. They do own Deep Silver. Yep, they do. And they still greenlit the Saints Row reboot, so... yeah. Lots going on there. The art is great. The changes, no. Yeah, some of the art's pretty good, but it's not like there won't be other good art in other sets. And it sucks, because when this set was initially released and we didn't know any of the cards, I was like, oh hell yeah, finally a Magic set I might buy. It's been like, what, 2 years since I purchased Magic the Gathering? I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm actually pretty interested in this. And then only 2 weeks later we saw the arts and the changes, and now we see the one-of-one fucking lottery bingo card, where it's like only one of the masterpieces being printed in the world. It's just... I should play Flip It or Rip It. I would love to rip that card. $1 million down the drain. I hope whoever gets it does. They like fucking roleplay. They fucking LARP as they're throwing it into the fucking fires of Mount Doom. And they burn the fucking $1 million card. They better. Another Magic set destined for the landfill. Yeah, and this set will sell, but, well, I don't even know how well it is going to sell. I think the one thing they have going for this is the fact that it's got that fetch card. Once that fetch card is found, and they have to hope that it's not found like the first fucking day of release, because then sales will drop. Because people will be like, oh, I can't get that special fetch card anymore. Well, I guess I'm not going to waste my money on this. I bet they specifically gave the packs to someone and was like, yeah, you can open these packs in like 2 weeks. Don't do it at launch though, we need the money. Vara will now be lighting her entire magic collection on fire? No, I've been considering selling out of magic. I've sold some of my magic. I'm gonna continue to sell my magic. I have a lot of product though. It takes a long time to sell Magic the Gathering. Sealed or singles. But I do have a lot of magic to sell. I just don't care about the game anymore. I'm so disappointed with the direction that they've gone in. Rings of Power proved you don't mess with Tolkien fans. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, look at all of the backlash to that. And I think the backlash here is going to blow up even more than it already has. So, yeah, guys, those are the main topics we had to discuss tonight. Oh, I thought that we would read this quickly. This has been happening for the past, I'd say, about a week or so, and I haven't really been covering. I didn't get a chance to cover it just because there were a lot of other topics to cover around the time that this was happening, but I thought that we could at least mention it. Wednesday star Jenna Ortega gets apology for toxic and entitled attack. So do you guys remember when Henry Cavill was being called toxic for understanding Geralt as a character and defending his character and basically saying, no, Geralt would never make these dialogue choices that you writers are having me say. Well, Jenna, it sounds like at least, Jenna Ortega is going through a very similar situation where she defended her character and said, I know how my character would act. I'm not going to say these lines that you have written. And she got called toxic and entitled for it. And now the Hollywood vet who attacked her had to publicly apologize. So the Hollywood veteran Stephen DeKnight is soft-pedaling shocking comments he made about Wednesday star Jenna Ortega being toxic and entitled. He tweeted a semi-apology to her for his prior statements, on Wednesday suitably enough, about Netflix's 20-year-old breakout star. I can't stress this enough, she's an amazing talent, he said, and he produced in scripted shows like Daredevil and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It was just an unfortunate situation to expose creative differences publicly. And also, I'll admit that writers are on edge because of impending strike, myself included, a perfect storm. Of course, using an excuse, well, you know, there's impending strikes going on, so we're just all on edge, so I'm fine with going on Twitter and calling people toxic and entitled. Like, what kind of excuse is that? The comments come after the Scream 6 star revealed on Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert podcast that she changed lines in blockbuster hit Netflix series and behaved unprofessionally at times. I don't think I've ever had to put my foot down more on set in a way than I had to do on Wednesday, she said, and he fired back, she's young, so maybe she doesn't know any better, but she should. She should also ask herself how she would feel if the showrunners gave an interview and talked about how difficult she was and refused to perform the material. And I do kind of generally agree that, like, you wouldn't want them to say that about you, so coming out publicly and attacking them, yeah, I understand why people are saying that she was being unprofessional, but she basically said that, you know, I knew my character. I knew how my character acted, and I had to put my foot down because they weren't listening to be about my character, and they didn't understand my character, and ultimately, Wednesday turned out to be a fantastic show, and she did a fantastic job as this character. So, while yes, maybe she was acting bratty, and she was acting toxic, she still came out with a fantastic show, and the version of her character was loved. I mean, this show has fantastic ratings, and you know, she's a main part of that. It's iffy with actors, right? Because sometimes there are actors who get mad and who throw hissy fits, right? Because they don't get to change the character. There are a lot of actors that we have heard think they know better, and then they don't. and then their dialogue gets put into a movie or a TV show, and then of course the writers are roasted for the poor writing. But then the creative team comes out and says, well, actually, we let the actor have a lot of creative freedom. But you also have good situations where an actor does genuinely know their character, does know the lore, and does care. And that's why I, referenced Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill was shunned for knowing Geralt, for respecting the source material, and for basically refusing to throw the material to the side. Even though the 2 seasons and the 3 seasons now that he's going to be in did have some problems to the source material, he did a generally very good job. He tried his best to respect the material and the characters, and he did a good job. And it sounds like, well, yeah, she might have been a bit toxic on set, but clearly she did a fucking pretty good job, because she is part of this show that was a massive success. So it's kind of an iffy situation, because yeah, like, you shouldn't be acting toxic on set, but she's a big reason why the show worked and why it did really good. So can't really say that I agree with Stephen DeKnight. Okay, he is honestly kind of acting pretty entitled and toxic. And his excuse is just the worst. Oh, well, we're all just kind of on edge right now because, well, there's impending strikes. Yeah, that sounds like it sucks, but that's also a you problem. Nobody asked for your 2 cents. Nobody asked for you to give your opinion, and yet you are. It also says that Wednesday, of course, is currently the 2nd most watched English language-based show on Netflix, logging 1.02 billion hours viewed since it debuted on November 16th. On 48-year-old Shepherd podcast last week, the Wednesday star admitted that she put her foot down, verging on being unprofessional for the sake of her character, of whom she was very protective. I can't say that I'm surprised. It is hard, from what it sounds like, to work with companies, especially when they throw tons of different writers and creatives on projects that don't know the source material. And while I'm sure that there are people who are more knowledgeable in Adam's family than Jenna Ortega, at least she did try to defend her character and respect her character and their story, and I have to give her props for that. We don't know what verge of being unprofessional is. We don't know what, putting her foot down means, or what she means when she says she was very protective, but it just sounds like she disagreed with their decisions, and she stuck up for herself and her character, and refused in some cases to do what they wanted, and they didn't like that. Can't say I'm surprised. What is DeKnight actually worrying about, though? He's done his writing job. That's all he needs to do. Submit your script and shut up. Exactly. I mean, as far as I know, he wasn't even part of this. I know that this article says the Wednesday Star gets apology for it, but Stephen didn't actually work on this show. I've seen some articles claim that he did, but he didn't. He's just a Hollywood elite giving his 2 cents on this situation. How does that make sense? Who even asked for your opinion? Like, seriously. Did you ever change your stance on the Mario movie from today? No. If you have a specific question, feel free to ask. Or sorry, not today, yesterday. Because I put up a video on it yesterday. If you have a specific question, let me know. But my stance has not changed since then. I was pretty thorough in my thoughts. Yeah, he's just being toxic. It's so hilarious because toxic could mean anything to these people. Toxic could mean you simply disagree with them and they say, well, you're being toxic. Do you still hate the movie? I never said that I hated the movie. I have never said that I hope it fails, that I hated it, that I think it's awful. All I have said was I have a lot of red flags surrounding the movie right now, and I have a lot of worry for a lot of the changes that they are making. I have said multiple times in my videos and live streams, I hope the movie turns out to be good. I even put up a tweet yesterday about it, or no, it was today about it, because I was responding to someone. Yeah, Chuck Gaffney had said if she's written well, and like the manga, that would be great. The worry probably is the recent shallow and badly written girl bosses of the 2010s and now. A great girl boss is like saying Tifa Lockhart, a deep, pretty, and very human character versus, say, an untouchable, shallow, hardly cloaked political statement like in some recent movies. The movie isn't out yet, so we won't know until it's out, and I retweeted it and said 100%. I am very skeptical due to the people behind this project and the way they've specified it's their new take on Peach. I still hope it turns out well and I end up wrong for being skeptical. And yeah, that's been my opinion. My opinion's been sturdy. So if you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. But yeah, I haven't changed anything. I hope it ends up being really, really good. I have a lot of worries, but that's kind of with any movie now, because so many movies end up being bad. Toxic is one of their favorite buzzwords. Oh yeah, absolutely. All of these Hollywood elites, toxic, toxic, toxic. If you're not them or you don't agree with them, you're toxic. He's just putting a target on himself. Yeah, I think that he just wanted attention. And, well, he didn't get the positive attention he was hoping for. Did he end up ever tweeting anything else about it? He didn't. It's his 2 cents, I guess. I'm sorry for offending you. No, you didn't offend me. I'm just, reiterating my stance on it. That's all. Do you hate it because the Mario nips don't make an appearance? That's definitely it, for sure. Every day is a living hell. Absolutely. At this point, I'm just done with Hollywood. However, I do want to see John Wick. Just when you think you're out, they pull you back in. I'm excited for John Wick. I hope that it turns out good. I don't know if I'll see it this weekend just because I have a lot to do, but I am relatively excited for it. And I hope it's not a massive fucking failure. I'm also excited for the Mario movie to a certain extent. I'm worried, but I'm gonna see it. And hopefully it'll be at least enjoyable. Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sorry, I don't have much hope there. John Wick looks awesome. It really does. What else is coming out over the next few weeks? What comes out in April? Why do I have Elden Ring up? 96. Sheesh. April movie releases. Super Mario Brothers is April 7th. Oh, Evil Dead Rising and Renfield are 2 movies I am super excited for. I really, really hope that these end up good. I really hope so. We'll see. But I think that that's basically it for April. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. If you have any topics you'd like me to discuss, feel free to put them in chat. That reminds me, we do have one more minor topic to cover that I thought would be fun for the end of stream. Another version of Captain Marvel has failed. Marvel cancels Captain Marvel again. Well, I hope to come back next month and you love the movie. Hey, I hope that happens too. I would love to be wrong. I would love for my worries to be pushed to the side, and I hope that it ends up being good. Yeah, Captain Marvel canceled again. It says Marvel has once again canceled the Captain Marvel comic book featuring Carol Danvers, which comes with the June solicitations. More than likely, the title will be relaunched for the 12th, 13th, 100th time closer to the release. of the Marvels movies starring Brie Larson, which recently saw a big delay. Captain Marvel is, of course, one of Marvel's characters that replaces a fan favorite original that it keeps pushing on fans. Carol Danvers, which was originally Miss Marvel, then became Captain Marvel, with Marvel Comics introducing Kamala Khan as Miss Marvel and pushing all that crap in the MCU, which has bombed big time and continues to do so. Well, chat, another one bites the dust. I do have to say, this comic is probably the coolest Captain Marvel comic image I've seen. I do have to give a little credit where credit is due. This image is pretty good. I think it looks cool, but it raises a lot of question marks. Like Captain Marvel with Mjolnir and Cap's shield. Is that Hela's weapon? Either way, lots of question marks. But the art's kind of cool. Though, yeah, talks about how it's Captain Marvel number 50. Kelly Thompson wrote it. That's a red flag in of itself. But when Marvel asked me to write Carol's new Captain Marvel series back in 2018, in the lead up to her first film, I was delighted and also terrified, but I'm glad I didn't let the terror win because it has truly been a fantastic experience. I've worked with some of the most incredible people in the business. I'd list them all, but at 50 issues it's truly a massive list. But I certainly have to call out editor Sarah, who brought me in and helped me build this book from the very beginning. It's basically just saying thank you for this opportunity, even though it's being canceled. But yeah, another version of Captain Marvel bites the dust. I don't really care what happens to this character at this point. I have no love in my heart for Captain Marvel, especially after the Captain Marvel movie. Brie Larson just completely killed this character for myself and for many other people, and who knows what's going to happen even with the Marvels movie now. We've heard that behind the scenes Brie Larson is being a diva. Apparently she's being really tough to work with, and she is a major reason for some of the delays that it's gone through now that we are at 4 freaking delays. Do you guys really think it's gonna come out at the end of the year, or do you think it's gonna be delayed again? I don't know what they're gonna do at this point, but it's looking pretty bad. Looking pretty bad for just this character in general. Yeah, Kelly Thompson is real different. Yeah, interesting character there. Didn't Captain Marvel at one time get all the powers of the Avengers? I think so. Again, I'm tuned out of Captain Marvel. She's just one of those characters I can't tell you a lot about because she's in the past, okay? We're leaving her in 2019. Lots of the canceled comics over the past couple of days, though. I had to talk today about this. Yesterday? Or 2 days ago, I had to talk about Robin, the gay Robin series being canceled. And of course, a couple of months ago, we had to talk about the climate activist Superman being canceled. Definitely a very interesting time. That's at least one way to put it. The Marvels movie premise is stupid. Whenever one of them uses their powers, they switch physical locations. Yeah, I don't really know what they're thinking with that. I feel like it's just gonna be messy. Maybe it'll turn out good. You guys know, I try to be hopeful. I try to be positive. I wouldn't say I'm being positive for the Marvels movie. Primarily because I do not care at all if it succeeds or if it fails, because it's just bad characters. Though, yeah. We'll see. I hate how this Western woke insanity is now infecting other... And then it cuts off. Yeah, woke insanity is infecting entertainment, though. If that's what you meant to say. Carol Danvers was a cool character until lunatics got a hold of her. Yeah. They've had a hold of her for a long time, though, to be fair. Tim Drake Robin should have never had a book, but 10 issues is embarrassing. 10 issues is really what got me laughing. It's not like there were 20, 25, you know, that's up there. But 10? Less than a year? Already canceled. Pretty bad. Definitely not good. Is there anything new that has happened that we can... Oh, God. I don't know if you guys saw this. We're not gonna actually talk about this because I didn't have enough brain cells. But Suze Kempner, am I saying their name right? Is a newly cast actor for Doctor Who is going to be reigning in the new era of Doctor Who. I don't remember how they said it. Let's hope that it's not really a full era. But this new actor is all about promoting a woke agenda and not whether the story is any good. Unfortunately, I kind of figured that yesterday. I looked into this individual's Twitter account. I was doing a little bit of research on them. They say that they are a comedian, and they do call themselves an activist, so I can't really say that I'm surprised. If you thought woke Doctor Who that killed the franchise was done for with Chris Chinball and Jodie Whittaker exiting the series, all that Disney money might have doubled down the woke agenda, as the newly cast actor is all about politics and trans rights. Everybody is going to have their own opinions. If you are heavy into politics, that's cool. If you believe in trans rights, that is cool. That's your own opinion, right? Actors are people too. But the problem is if it ends up leading into the entertainment that they are part of. If it doesn't, then feel free to believe in whatever you believe in. But is it going to bleed into Doctor Who? I would love for it to not. I would love for them to not bring this person's real life characteristics and their personality into the show, but are they gonna do that? I don't know. The teaser for Doomsday happens to see her character refer to the Doctor as them, and Kempner uses pronouns according to her Instagram, but the official announcement doesn't use pronouns for some reason. Interesting. I'm sorry, guys, but what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this outfit, though? What is that? That is just... I'm sorry, you just look fucking dorky. You are giving, okay, nerds a bad reputation. By having such an iconic franchise like Doctor Who and sticking someone in this. I'm sorry, why are you doing this to us? Well, I can't say that I'm surprised. I hope that we are not, how do I want to say this? I hope that we're not getting another iteration of Jodie Whittaker, Doctor Who. I hope that this is all just a big misunderstanding. Ha ha ha. Just a really bad, really cringy advertisement for the future. Ha ha ha. I want to cry. But we'll see. Only time will tell. I don't really know much about this individual, but it seems like they have definitely picked an interesting person for the one of the new phases of Doctor Who. Only time will tell. I know if I judge too soon, Chris is gonna yell at me, okay? I'm not judging. I'm not a judger, okay? I'm not a judger. But that is pretty awful. Doctor Who is freaking dead, Vara. I don't want it to be dead. I don't want Doctor Who to be dead. But I do generally agree that yes, it is kind of dead at this point. Hey, if they can bring back good actors and introduce new good characters, maybe it won't be dead. Maybe something good will happen. Yeah. Trying here. It's like you want to be canceled. You get David Tennant back as the Doctor, then do this. Yeah, it's just like the worst possible decision they could have fucking made. Like, they have someone like David Tennant back for the 60th. What's the actress's name? She plays Donna. What's her name? You know who I'm talking about. You have such good actors and actresses. But then you pull something like this. It's just bad. The new Doctor is a black actor. That, in my opinion, doesn't matter. Because it's not like they are supposed to be playing, like, a specific character that's already written. It's not like they're supposed to be playing, like, David Tennant's character. They're supposed to be playing their own new character. So I'm fine with that. The acting matters. The writing matters. Tate, that's who it is. Catherine Tate, yeah. But anyway, guys, that's all that we really had to discuss in this video, in this stream. Lots of sad news. Doctor Who, Jenna Ortega, Lord of the Rings, Little Mermaid, Resident Evil, Dungeons and Dragons, Shazam. Lots of interesting topics tonight. Guys, the rest of the streaming schedule for this week will be a little bit different. I will not be live on Thursday, but I will be live on Friday. On Friday, we will be starting our playthrough of the Resident Evil 4 remake. Saturday, I will be streaming live from PAX East, and then Sunday, I will be back for Resident Evil 4. But yeah, that's all that I really had to discuss in this live stream. Thank you guys for stopping by tonight. Thank you for the donations, for the support on your way out. Make sure to give this stream a like or a dislike if you did not enjoy. Become a member, become a Patreon, support the channel because YouTube doesn't like me. Doesn't like a lot of people though, to be fair. But yeah, check out today's videos if you didn't see them. Follow me on social media, Twitter, Minds, BitChute, Odyssey, Getter. Join our Discord server. We're very active there. And of course, I do tag you all when I go live in case YouTube doesn't notify you of the live stream. But thank you all so much for stopping by and have a fantastic evening, everyone.